We're back here to the Neil Haley Show on the Caregiver Dave Celebrity segment. I'm excited to welcome to the program Caregiver Dave Nasani. Dave, how are you?
I'm great.
So you're back, and we have some great guests. Introduce our guest today.
Yvonne Fallon Hogan. Great
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good.
Stars in
Thanks
a
for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, I was going to introduce you, but why don't you quickly tell us some of your accolades so we know who we're talking to, or the audience does.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll tell my resume.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've been in this business for a million years. I was on Saturday Night Live, Seinfeld, Men in Black, Forrest Gump, you name it. A lot of Lars von Trier movies, Dancer in the Dark, Dogville. But now I've written a movie called Rushed, which is coming out today.
All right.
And it'll be in
Whoa,
theaters all
that's
over the
impressive.
country. Yeah.
Impressive resume.
Thank you.
I know it's her press and resume, but she wants to do some comedy. So let's talk. What came first? SNL? Was, I mean, like, how did that happen?
Well, I did a lot of theater, and I moved to New York City. I'm from upstate New York, which Rushed is based on a woman from upstate New York. And it went down to New York. I had no skills whatsoever. I did some summer stock theater, and I was ready to quit the business. And my father said, "Why don't you come home and do dinner theater?" I was like, "What?" And then this friend of mine said, there's an audition at this improv comedy club. So I got in, and the director said, "Why don't you write a one-person show?" So I said, "All right." I'd never written. And so I did. And I put it on at West Side Arts off-Broadway theater, and I rented the lobby out because theaters are dark on Monday nights and Sunday nights. So people thought I had an off-Broadway one-woman show. And I handed out the tickets, the flyers at TKTS, and I got great reviews. So I brought it to LA, did it in LA, and Seinfeld came and SNL came, and I got on those shows, and that opened a ton of doors for me.
Wow. Okay. So I want to go SNL, and I'm sure, Dave, you have answers, questions on Seinfeld. So SNL, tell us specifically, once you had that opportunity, some of the things that we can remember from SNL.
So mainly what people would know me from SNL, I was one of the Delta girls. Delta, can I help you? And so that was, and I did a lot of, Chris Rock used to call me Judgy because they always made me the judge, Judgy Wudgy. But I was on with Chris Farley and Adam Sandler and David Spade. And that was the Wayne's World years. I was very good friends with Chris Farley, Adam and David are still friends. Ellen Cleghorn was my roommate. She's still a great friend. So, it was great. I mean, it was, what I'd hoped for as a comedian. And then I was lucky because I did Shakespeare in the Park that summer. I was Phoebe in As You Like It in Central Park in New York City. And a casting director who was very sophisticated, Avi Kaufman, saw me, and she said, "Siobhan, I think you can do more than comedy." And I was like, "You think?" So she had me audition for Lars von Trier, who's a very well-known European director. And my daughter Bernadette was a very difficult child. She had ear infections all the time. So I was up all night with the baby, and I was able to cry on command during the audition. So I've done 3 movies with Lars. I did Dancer in the Dark that won the Palme d'Or with Bjork. I did Dogville with Lauren Bacall and Nicole Kidman. And I just did The House of Jack McDillan. So when I wrote Rushed, my movie, I sent it over to Denmark, and they loved it. And they said, "We want to co-produce." So I was like, "Oh, maybe this is good." So I called up my good friend, Robert Patrick from The Terminator and Walk the Line and many, many movies to play my husband. He said, "I'm in." Jake Weary from Animal Kingdom. He plays the bad boy frat boy, and Perry Gilpin from Frasier. And so that's how it all happened.
Awesome.
Wow, you are well connected, young lady.
Well, I've been around the block, and I treat people the way I want to be treated when I'm on a set or as a friend. And so, when I called up these big high rollers who make a lot of money a week, I was like, "Robert, what do you think?" He's like, "Siobhan, I love the script." And he's like, "I'm all in." And I was like, "How much do you want to make a week? $2 or $2.50? And then he said, I love the script. I'm in." So actually his mom is going to be seeing the movie tonight in Cleveland. And we have a big surprise for her out there tonight when she goes to see the show.
Wow. So when you were younger, what did you feel like you were going to do? Was it comedy? Was it theater? Was it musical? Was it writing? I mean,
Well,
where did you first get your first clue you were a talented person?
I'm one of 5, and I'm from a big Irish Catholic family. And my parents didn't really, well, they cared about our grades, but they cared more if we were funny. So I remember one time I came home from college, I had a really bad grades and I was like a D in astronomy and, maybe my best grade was like a C. And I was like, and my friends were like, you're going to be in so much trouble. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't have gone out so much. And so I said to my father, I got a D in astronomy. And he's like, Shivani, and look I just ate 2.5 pieces of pie. Now there's a lot of the pie left over. There's 65% of the pie. Look how much pie there is. D's not bad in astronomy. Who knows about the stars? So anyway, my family really loved funny and they love stories. So we were big storytellers. So I kind of, did stage first and comedy was my kind of thing. I never did stand up, but I got my master's in fine arts and acting from Catholic University, which has a very good program. Susan Sarandon went there, John Voight, John Slattery, a lot of great actors. I had this training, but I was pegged to be comedic only. And when I got this break with Lars von Trier, that opened up a lot of doors. And then I got The Negotiator and I did a lot of serious movies after that. So I was able to make that cross.
Wow, very impressive.
So let's go to SNL and your experiences with Chris Farley. We're interested in hearing about that.
Okay, so Chris, I just feel so honored and blessed to have known him and have him be my friend. He and I, from very similar backgrounds. My husband, at the time, I just started to date. He was a New York rugby player. He worked on Wall Street. He lived a block from me. Chris and I we'd go to the parties. And afterwards I'd be like, Chris, I really like this guy. He's really nice. And he's like, Sharon, what's his apartment number? Come on, let's find him. Let's go to his building. And so we'd go with David Spade. Chris and I would go. And like 5 o'clock in the morning, because the parties at SNL didn't start till 1. And he'd ring the buzzer. Come on, Peter, you fat bastard, wake up. Sharon's a catch. Come on, open the door. So he was instrumental in me meeting my husband. Then we both went to Holy Trinity Catholic Church together at night on Sunday nights. And sometimes the parties would go a little wild and you see Chris going, I'm sorry. But he was such a great guy. And after he passed, I remember there was a memorial for him and you'd think there'd be like, some star up there giving the eulogy. And the memorial service this was though, actually. And up was a shut-in who he had visited and brought meals to. He was a great person, with a rough, terrible problem. And my movie actually touches on something similar in that the family, when horrible things happen to funny people, to me, that's particularly sad and even more sad because you don't expect kind of the funny ones to have that much trouble. And when they do, how do they handle it? And, I saw Chris go through a lot and, he suffered a lot, but his funny was so funny. I mean, it's at those two extremes, So I was really lucky to be his pal. And I got to tell you, like Adam Sandler and David Spade, they've been so supportive of my movie Rushed. And I'm forever grateful to SNL. And Lorne Michaels put me in Baby Mama years after, when I was a birthing specialist with Tina Fey. I was like, okay, Quish, we're going to talk about birthing a baby.
Awesome.
Tell us about your Seinfeld times.
Seinfeld was unbelievable. So interestingly,
So remind us about the character.
I was Elaine's roommate. I was Tina, Elaine's roommate.
Before Seinfeld, right?
No,
Yeah.
during Seinfeld.
No,
I
during
remember it
Seinfeld.
completely, and now you're giving
No,
me.
on the show, I was Elaine's roommate. And the first time I was on, they were just starting up and they didn't know if they were going to get picked up for the second season. And then I was Kramer's girlfriend, the African dance. And then I did another one where Elaine was getting kicked out of the building. I was like, you can't let people into the building. That's why there's a buzzer. So I had this character.
Yes.
When I first got on the show, Larry David called me up after we had done, rehearsed for a couple of days. In TV, you have to get everything down into 22 minutes so that if it's a half-hour show because of the commercial time.
Sure.
And he's like, Siobhan, we got to cut I thought he was gonna say, we got to cut you out. But he said, we have to cut your part down a little. And I was like, oh, that's no problem. So I was an actress on it. That was my part. And I was like, oh my God, I had the best. I couldn't have talked slower. I was like, well, if my part's cut down, I'll just slow down my part. Wait, there's a bottle of water here. I'll show you. I was like, hi, Elaine. Hi, Jerry. And then they had a straw, but I was like, anyway, I took the longest sip in the history of man. And I talked so slowly that my part equaled the same amount. That's called milking it as an actor, or they call it chewing the scenery. So anyway, it was fabulous. And then when I went back for the 5th season, I was supposed to do another one, but I couldn't because of SNL. But when I went back the 3rd time, they were on top of the world. So it was, and then they never changed. They were just great people who worked hard, loved what they did. And obviously it was genius.
I can't believe you've never done stand-up. Have you
No,
considered it? Is it scary? Of course it's scary.
it's a totally different ballgame. I'm an actress. I like to hide behind characters. I don't like to stand up and be myself and tell jokes, because if you stand up and tell a joke and it bombs, you can't blame it on you. If you're a character, you can hide behind the character, you know? I mean, that it's a totally different deal.
I think you should do it. You can
You
do
do
a
it.
whole routine
maybe I
about your
will.
characters, all the characters you've ever done.
I know, but if people don't laugh, wait till you see my movie. It's a revenge thriller. And when things don't go her way, she has a slightly bad temper. So what if I went after the audience and be like, hey, you didn't laugh at my jokes. Come over here. You think, let me talk to you.
See, I
That's
love
funny
this.
right there.
It's always going back to that, but there's so many different experiences to talk about, Dave. And see, I know exactly who she's talking about now because of the Seinfeld. Everyone remembers Seinfeld characters. It's like the thing that no one forgets a Seinfeld character. I interviewed the Soup Nazi. And he was phenomenal. Mr. Peterman, I've interviewed, like, or not Peterman. No, you did the one, the one from the dog show. It'll come. John O'Hurley. I've interviewed.
Oh yeah.
I've interviewed multiple times for the dog show. But those Seinfeld characters or the Red Ribbon, you are on one time Seinfeld. People aren't going to forget your character forever. Do you agree with that? When you start saying Seinfeld and then you tell the story, they'll say, "Oh, I remember."
I was lucky to do 3 of them. I was supposed to do the 4th. And my son recently said to me, Mom, you should do cameos. I'm like, what is a cameo? So I was like, all right, let's give it a whirl. So we were on this road trip and he signs me up for cameo, and 2 seconds later, it's like, ding. And I'm like, oh no, I'm like wearing like my husband's t-shirt. I have no makeup. And it's like, do a cameo. And they're like, could you please do Seinfeld when Elaine gets kicked out of the building? And not everybody, a lot of people like to see Men in Black or Forrest Gump or Holes or different things, but a lot of people say,
we have so many things. You remember Holes, again, another great movie.
Yeah.
Good.
So I was like, they always want to say, that's why there's a buzzer. No, but Holes, they like me, Henry Winkler and I did the dance. They know, I don't smell anything. So people like that. And of course they always love Men in Black. And then I don't know, there's all kinds of different things, but because of my experience being in this business so long, when I went and did my movie Rushed, which, notice how I keep circling back to that.
I love it because you're
Like
doing the
that
same
tactic?
thing I
I'm like,
had
Seinfeld
Mr.
Rushed.
Wonderful. I
Rushed
had Mr.
Seinfeld.
Wonderful, and he did the same thing, going back to see his MSNBC thing. We were trying to talk Shark Tank with Mr. Wonderful, and he just kept coming back. So you're doing the same strategy that he's doing. That's okay.
My father was a lawyer. He used to call those people double talkers. He's like, Siobhan, that person's a double talker. So that's like a crazy person. No, but I wanted to say, because of all my experiences working on all these different shows, I mean, that's how I met Perry Gilpin from Frasier. I did a play with her. So, all these people that you meet along the way, you kind of connect the dots and then it all kind of works out, but, and then the social media thing is so huge. Like Jake Weary's in the movie, he's huge in Animal Kingdom. Adam Sandler, David Spade. I'm like, guys, I don't even know what tweeting is. I was like, you need to retweet this thing that my son did. And like, Siobhan, we're all in. Like, they're so supportive,
That's great. All right. I love you going back each time, and I'm going to take you back again. So let's go 30 Rock now. What was your character on 30 Rock?
30 Rock, I played Alec Baldwin's sister, and I was Molly Shannon's sister. And that was crazy because my own daughter in real life, there was like a camping trip, and I'm not outdoorsy at all for the school. So I don't know why I volunteered, and I got pneumonia. And so I was supposed to play like a big drinker sister. So when on the show, I had like this cough that sounded like an alcoholic because I had pneumonia. I was like, ugh. But anyway, it was a riot. I loved being on that show.
What about Men in Black?
Men in Black was unbelievable. Barry Sonnenfeld, one of the greatest directors of all times. And, I was with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, Vincent D'Onofrio. And I mean, it was just incredible. I honestly did, for that show, an imitation of someone I knew from Syracuse. I was like, I had no expression. And I was like, Edgar, your skin is falling off your bones, because there was a girl from Syracuse who talked like that. And I was like, just did an imitation of her. And Barry's like, I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah, you can't make up stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to another question. So Dave, I guess you did the last question. So you've circled us back 6 times to the movie, but we're gonna
What
get to that
movie?
again.
Rushed?
Yes.
Don't worry, we are gonna talk about Rush because I
We're
want to
always
know.
gonna give it.
Rushed that's
so-
coming out today in theaters across the country. And it's also going to be on Apple, iTunes, and Amazon and all video platforms. And please come support us. It's fabulous. And our reviews have been unbelievable. You got to go on filmthreat.com. You got to go on Rotten Tomatoes. It's been off the charts. If you like thrillers, go.
All
How
right,
much can you tell us without giving it away?
Well, I'm going to tell you that there's 2 audiences for this film. There's kids going into college and college kids, and there's parents who sit in their beds, sick to their stomachs, worried about their kids because we have these things called cell phones. And we're like, hey, make good choices while you're in college. Just let me know you're in safely. Okay. Then 2:00 in the morning. Hey, mom again. Don't mean to bug you. Want to give you some freedom, but let me know. And you sit in bed and you're in the fetal position and you're like, my God, my kid's probably dead. So this was from me sitting in bed. I have 2 daughters and a son, many nights worrying. Many moms do this. Your kids go off to college. In the movie, I have 4 kids. The oldest boy goes off to college. The mother harasses the kids on the way to school. She's like, call your brother, Jimmy. They're like, Mom, you're harassing him. I'm like, all right, either call him and pull those skirts down because you look like hookers, or I'm telling you right now, if you're ugly on the outside, ugly on the inside and pretty on the outside, no one likes you. Now call your brother. Anyway, so she harasses him, but then something horrible happens. And this mom at the beginning of the movie is praying and she's swearing at the same time because the kids are late for school and the sandwiches she's making are all messed up. So she's this frantic, faithful mom with a lot of humor. And when the horrible incident takes place, her faith and her humor get her through, but she's a different person because she never expected to be out in the limelight. And I have this fabulous editor. I did this Johnny Depp movie called The Professor. And my director, Vibeke Musaya, who's fantastic from Denmark, she said to me 2 days before the film was ending, we were driving upstate New York to get the foliage scenes. Siobhan, we have an A-list film and we don't have an A-list editor. And I was like, wait, I know one. Sabina Miliani. So she edited and she said to me, Siobhan, let me tell you something. When you do a thriller, you must always be one step ahead of the audience. Every time they think they have it figured out, you twist and turn, twist and turn. So this movie, when you see it, and as the reviewers are saying, you will be on the edge of your seat in the fetal position because you
Love
don't
that.
know what's happening next ever. And Robert Patrick hits it out of the ballpark. So does Jake Weary. So does Perry Gilpin and Rusty Schwimmer. The cast is unbelievable.
Wow.
I
I'll be there.
I love this promotion, but I'm going to go back to like when I always talk to people is you're giving us the pretty much that gist. Why did you do it? What made you want to
Well,
put this together?
I had written several one-woman shows over the years. And about 4 years ago, I said to myself, if I can do a one-person show, why can't I write a film? Because I've been in the industry long enough. So I have a friend who's a producer and he said, and he's a writer, and he said, Siobhan, just write. But when you write, don't judge the end. Don't judge any of it. Just start writing. And, you know, as a mom and with kids that are teenagers, when they start going out when they're like 15, you're just worried all the time. And so I spent many a night in my bed worried. And that's where it came from.
Yeah. I have 3 daughters. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. My father used to say, I like kids, just not from 15 to 25.
Amen. You got that right.
So, but because, you know, this whole college thing, when they go off, and you have too much contact with them, it's almost worse because when you don't have the contact, you worry sick. And now with colleges, when they change that drinking age, you guys know when we went to college, it was beer. Now it's all hard liquor and it's Russian roulette when you're drinking hard liquor.
Yeah.
And also in any institution, whether it's a sorority or a frat or any job, when the leader is hip and cool and good looking and tough, and they have some sort of a charm that people follow them, but in your gut, you're like, I don't like that guy or that girl. You gotta have the guts to get out and do the right thing. Don't follow the leader because you know what I mean? Because everybody else thinks you're cool. And there's a message in this. The humor and the faith gets you through. And when you're in a bad situation, you do the right thing by your friend. And if the right thing is to call 911, you better do it. Or someone might find you. Because hell hath no fury like a mother scorned.
You've gone through every characters, and it's just amazing how many characters. That's why you've done a one woman show. One other person I've interviewed that's done a one woman show is Kat Kramer back in the day. Kat, she's really good at Catherine Kramer again's late father was Stanley Kramer, and
Yeah.
she does those one woman. I've talked to other people. So you did a one woman interview just now. You've asked yourself questions and it
It's
turned.
clever.
Yeah.
Well, Lily Tomlin and I worked together years and years ago. And of course, I was a massive fan of Lily's. And I saw her show on Broadway. I've saw her show a couple times. And she was a big influence. And, I always tell young actors, like, if you are frustrated with where your career is at, pick up a pen and start writing. If you write your own show, no one can stop you.
Right. So
And
you
then it
did
will
that.
open up
Now
doors.
you created your own film. So there you go.
Yes,
For
there
one
you
person.
go.
Okay. All right. Dave is going to ask the final question before we
Sure.
find out where we can find the film, because he's a caregiver, and we'll
Sure.
find out why he's a caregiver. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm a caregiver. My wife had a stroke 25 years ago, and
Oh.
she lost her speech, became paralyzed on one side. A couple of
Oh.
years of grieving, was miserable, but then she reinvented herself. She decided, she was going to do everything she did before with one arm and no speech. And now
Unbelievable.
she's amazing. She's like a Martha Stewart, Wonder Woman rolled into one. And we've been going through this for 25 years. So I realized that, hey, if I could just communicate to other caregivers, because I didn't know what I was doing,
Right.
all the mistakes I made. So I became Dave, the caregiver's caregiver. Been on television 50 times, did some interviews, spoke all over the world, going to London on the 12th of this month, going to speak at the
Oh, he's freezing
London
again.
Stock Exchange,
Yeah.
get my picture with Nigel Farage. My question to you, and I've got a website, caregiverdave.com,
Yes.
and 4 books.
Yes.
I'd like to say that if you don't think you're going to be a caregiver, just wait. It's inevitable. It's going to happen to everybody. So
Dave?
now's the time to prepare, not after tragedy strikes like I did. Don't know what you're doing. You don't have to scratch your head.
I want to tell you that I think what you do is unbelievable. And I want to call you a saint, because my mom just passed at 96 years old. And it's so hard to find great caregivers. And my sisters were unbelievable. One of them moved in with her. They're from upstate. We all took turns, but there was 2 women who we knew, and we knew they were caregivers, and they would come in, and they're saints. And what an important role in life. That's why I always say, like, being an actor or actress, people think that's so great. But the truth is there's so many more important roles, and you're the one who deserves an Academy Award, and you're the one who deserves a star on the sidewalk, because holy cow, that's unbelievable. And your wife is incredible.
Every caregiver.
That's
Thank
really
you.
every caregiver. It's beautiful.
Punky Brewster, I'm with Soleil Moon Fry. Soleil, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm excited to chat with you, but I'm going to talk about, first of all, the show, Punky Brewster. When you auditioned and got the gig, did you think people were remembering it this far in advance? We're in, the 2020s, and still people talk about the show and remember it.
Oh, it moves me so much. I've got to say, for me, Punky was never just about a show. Punky was really a way of our lives. Cherry was really, truly my best friend growing up. And it always felt like such a family. And it was so inspiring to be able to do a show that really inspired people. And I think, really moved people.
And that definitely did move people. And it was such an experience. And just to see specifically enough the growth that people just continue to watch it and still tells the story today. And that's for sure. But you're
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's amazing also to think about is specifically enough you and how you're still always remembered for that character. Now, quickly, in a quick summary, what happened after life after Punky Brewster? What types of things?
Oh, a quick summary?
Yeah, quick summary. I know it could go forever.
Well,
but yeah.
Actually, you could go on to Hulu right now and watch Kid 90, my documentary, and it will give you a much longer summary.
I have to watch that.
Yeah. You gotta watch it. That's really the quick summary. Like, check out Kid 90 because it goes into it. I grew up, I went through puberty. I, was coming of age. I went off to college. I then, came back from college. I had babies, 4 kids. I mean, got married, then went through a transformation the last few years. I mean, there is a lot of catching up to do.
So is there soon going to be a book at one point on your life?
You know,
Yeah.
I actually, I had done a few books a while ago. I think it could be time to do another one. You know, really, the documentary has been decades in the making, and that really, when I started it, it wasn't meant to be about me, and it wasn't a documentary about me. I tried to make it about everybody else, and then it ended up becoming a very personal, you know, coming of age story of both the teen and adult me.
That's fantastic. Now, again, you're bringing this great awareness again for a vaccine that's going to help make sure that people get vaccinated with this because of the dangers that could happen if you don't. So tell us about how you're working with the campaign Ask to Be Sure. Tell us about that.
Oh, I'm very excited to be working with Ask to Be Sure. My kids are all at different ages, and my oldest is 16 years old. And she is incredible and amazing. And I had a conversation with one of my dearest friends, and she told me about meningitis B, and I actually was not really aware of it. You know, I think so many people think that when the kids are younger that they do the meningitis vaccination, yes, and then they're set. And really, meningitis B is totally different. And one of the groups that it affects most are teens from 16 to 23 years old. And I did a deep dive and started learning about it. And even though meningitis is uncommon, it's life-threatening and can cause death. And 1 in 10 people who get meningitis will die, and sometimes in as soon as 24 hours. So I learned more and more about it. And I spoke to Jamie, who is an incredible survivor, and talked to her about her journey, getting through it, having to deal with amputations, all that she had gone through. Patty, who had lost her daughter the week of her high school prom. And you hear these stories, and the thing that continues to come up, and I think it's something that we all deal with in life, is, you know, that you don't think something can happen to you until it does, you
Yes.
know, and so I think it's important for us to have this conversation, and to empower families to be able to ask their doctors and their care providers about this, and to definitely keep this dialogue going.
So what is the step for people that want to get this vaccination for their kids? What do they have to go about doing?
Really, I would say to talk to your doctor, healthcare provider, pharmacist, to learn more, and to have the conversation. You know, it's been really interesting to talk to some of my friends about this. And again, it's one of my dear friends that told me about it. Now I've been sharing it with my friends. And again, I think that we shouldn't be shy to have these conversations, and that it's important for us to be able to have these dialogues, both with our teens and with our doctors, with our friends, with our families. And once I learned about it, my daughter and I spoke about it, and I spoke to her pediatrician, and now she's set to get her vaccination.
And that's great. And so what percentage do they talk about specifically not enough are getting vaccinated then for this, are they?
I'm so sorry.
Not enough people are getting vaccinated for this. Is that part of the bringing the awareness that?
So it was incredible to learn that like 4 out of 5 17-year-olds have not even received 1 dose of the meningitis B vaccination. And that was back in 2019. So I think a lot of people just are not aware of it. And I think a lot of people, again, assume that because when kids are younger, so often going into school, that they've gotten the meningitis vaccination and don't realize that meningitis B is completely different.
Okay. So, and I didn't know that. So you're educating me, and I have 6 children. So
I didn't know it either, you know, and I think, you know, for me, I feel like I've definitely tried to, especially during the pandemic, educate myself as much as possible. And I wasn't aware. And so I think it is an important conversation for us to have. And again, they can go to asktobesure.com to learn more, and there's more resources and conversation to be had.
So what's new with Soleil? What other things are going on with you right now? that you can report to your family?
Okay, well, juggling the 4 children is really
I'm sure.
wild and a
Yeah.
lot, and yet fantastic and amazing. And living this Kid 90 dream, the documentary, I'm so grateful for the people that have been supporting it and for its success. And now diving into the next documentaries, which I am beyond excited about, working on a few right now, which I'm thrilled with. And Proud Family is coming to Disney Plus, which is so exciting. And of course, Punky has been so fun with this continuation, and people can still check that out.
And what's great is you like being behind the scenes. You like being behind the camera. You enjoy that, right?
I do. And then of course my work with CORE, which I'm so proud of, which next to my kids has been, some of my proudest work, which I work with Ann Lee and Sean Penn on, and that's just been such a dream. We've vaccinated over 1.5 million people and have done testing of over 5 million for COVID-19. And,
Wow.
and we're a disaster relief organization. We're in Haiti right now on the ground. And so to be able to be a part of that on a global level has been one of the greatest joys in my life.
Seems like you're just getting it done, and that's amazing. With 4 kids still being able to
I'm
get all that
trying.
done.
I think again, it's like when we look back at this time in our lives and this moment, we'll ask ourselves, where were we? And I want to be able to make my future self proud.
See, I didn't know about that work as well. So that's great for the fans that have not seen what's going on with Soleil Moon Frye. I got to catch up with the documentary. I got to catch up with all the stuff that you're doing. So the best way to connect with you, where's the best? Is it Instagram where you like to go the best?
Absolutely. Instagram. You can check out Kid 90 on Hulu. You can go to CORE Response. Of course, go to asktobesure.com for this incredible campaign that we're doing.
Well, we have a best-selling author and dream expert. We are talking about Teresa Chung, and she lives in London, and she's actually working on Katy Perry's dad. Welcome to the show, Teresa.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a dream come true, forgive the pun, to be here.
Really? That's
Oh,
interesting.
how
You were saying you're
sweet.
working on Katy Perry's dad. Go jump in that because it's funny. I'm going to have him on my show in a couple weeks. So go figure through another thing. Really?
Wow,
Yeah.
it was meant to be. Did you
Okay.
dream that?
I don't know if it dreamed or not, Teresa. So we'll go with first question. When did you find out you had this gift, Teresa? How old were you?
Well, everybody's got the gift for a start. Everybody, and I'm on a mission to get everybody to fall in love with their dreams, because every time you interpret a dream, you understand yourself better. And the whole reason of our lives is to know who we really are, because most of us go through our lives having no idea who we really are and what truly matters. But dreams try and pull us to that, to help us understand ourselves better and what truly matters in our lives. But to answer your question, I was born into a family of psychics and spiritualists, a traveling family, very unconventional upbringing. I mean, it was commonplace for me to be going to mediumship demonstrations, to believe in psychic abilities. That's how I was brought up. I thought it was normal. Of course, when I was honoured to get a place at King's College, Cambridge, where I read religion, I realised it was not considered normal, and this was not how the rest of the world actually regarded dreams and the possibility of an afterlife. So I went on a steep learning curve, battled with skeptics, learned more about myself, and then because of my academic credentials and my love of mysticism, I was blessed to be given opportunity to publish book after book in this area. I've been with all the major publishers, ranging from Random to Penguin to Simon & Schuster. And my current publishing home is HarperCollins, where I'm writing again about dreams. I write about all aspects of the paranormal, but at the moment I'm really focusing on dreams, and that's because of the lockdown dream phenomenon, where everybody was dreaming big. And everybody wanted to know why. It's almost like dreams, suddenly everybody remembered they were dreaming beings.
Yeah, I saw how many books you've written. It's amazing.
I'm a serial author.
So I want to start right at the basics. Everyone has an idea of why we dream, but why do you believe we dream, and what part does the subconscious play in it? And
Yes.
why do we dream?
Well, that's almost like saying, why are we alive? It's exactly the same, because I work with scientists. A lot of my work is I work with scientists to try and find out what the science is about all these invisible aspects of our lives. What is consciousness? And the consensus amongst most scientists is we don't actually know for sure why we dream. There is a school of thought that it's just like a computer offloading and sorting out material, that dreams are random. There is that school of thought in science, but I'm really delighted to say that in recent years, in the last 10, 15 years, sleep and dream research is moving towards dreams have a function for your emotional and psychological health. In fact, poor dream recall is associated in research with greater risk of anxiety and depression. It's very important for our well-being. So we don't actually know why we dream, just as we don't really know why we sleep. If you look at sleep research, there are all these theories. Sleep isn't to rest, because when you're asleep, your body's fidgeting, your mind's active in dreaming. You're not sleeping to rest. We don't actually know why we sleep, but we know that dreams happen when we sleep. And that when in tests of animals are deprived of REM sleep, that's rapid eye movement sleep, where most dreaming happens, death is swifter. So that raises the tantalizing possibility. Is the reason we sleep because we urgently need to have a dream because it's good for us? But to return to your question, why do we breathe? Why do we dream? It's that central to our existence. We are all dreaming beings. Even people who say they don't remember their dreams, they do actually dream, because they say, oh, I don't dream, but they do. They're just not recalling them, because if they're wired up at night with electrodes and all that, it shows the brain is actively dreaming. It's just that some people, when they wake up, don't recall.
Well, and you mentioned animals. I know for a fact that my dog dreams, because it seems like he has nightmares throughout the night. He's barking, and he's sleeping. So
we all have nightmares. Are a gift. They're an absolute gift. I wish people would stop fearing them. They are so powerfully transformative. If only we learned to not fear them and understand them and think like a poet. When you're trying to interpret your dreams, you've got to think a bit like an artist or a poet, because dreams speak to you in a different language. They don't speak literally. They speak in the language of symbols, metaphors. Remember in your English literature studies at school, or you were looking at a poem and analysing the meaning behind the meaning. And that's exactly how your dreams speak to you, through this ancient, intuitive language of symbol and metaphor, which cavemen would have put on their walls. It's all symbolic. And that's what you need to understand when you go into the world of the dream. It's the personal psychological associations behind these weird stories and movies that play out in our mind at night.
Steve, that's interesting once you develop that, because I basically one time took this one product for weight loss that talked about at night, and this was a natural product to help with dreaming. And then after that, my dreams have gotten so much more vivid. I remember them 3-4 times. But when you talk about, what about the same dreams reoccurring of something you did before that you did and you're no longer doing? So like professional wrestling, playing basketball, 2 things I don't do anymore. What is the reason I'm dreaming these things? And should I consider doing them again? Is that my subconscious telling me to do that?
No, it's not. First of all, recurring dreams are tough love. It's your dreaming mind constantly sending you the same message because you're not getting it. Because once you've interpreted a dream correctly, it'll change. So if you're having recurring dreams, it suggests perhaps that you're not quite understanding what your dreaming mind's trying to tell you. So it's going to keep throwing you these similar images until you get the message of that dream. And then if you don't, it could tip into the nightmare scenario, because that's what I say. The nightmares are kind of extreme tough love, the shock value. We have a nightmare because our dreaming mind wants us to remember it when we wake up, because it's something very important our intuition has to say to us. Now, going back to your past, something in your present is stirring up feelings similar to the past. Or your dreams are very current. They're not about the past. They're not about who you were in the past. Your dreams are always about the present moment, what's going on with you right now. But it will use things that were emotionally significant to you in the past, because it speaks to you. So it's something about what happened in the past is kind of reoccurring in a different way in the present. Some lesson you didn't learn, something you need to face, some skill that you could maybe use from that in your current situation. That's what it's trying to tell you. It's trying to make you understand, what in the past have I not moved on from? Am I not facing? Am I not learning from right now? It's always about the present, your dreams. It's not about your past. It's about who you are right now. So your dreaming mind wants you to reach back to that time, that moment in time, when this was very, very emotionally important for you, and maybe to bring some of that passion to what you're doing right now. Maybe that's as simple as that. Or it's not about you wanting to go back to who you were. It's not about that at all. It's something from there you need to learn now.
I've been married 47 years, and for the last 30 years, I've had this recurring dream about my very first girlfriend. She was supposed to be the one that I married, but she caught me going out on a blind date as a favor to a friend, and she broke up with me, and it just, there was no closure, you know, and I just kept dreaming. I told my wife about it. I don't know why I'm dreaming about this girl. And so finally I says, okay, I need closure. I need to contact her and apologize for being a jerk or whatever. And I did. And she received my apology, and I stopped dreaming about her. But then the dream was replaced with this house that I used to own. And we had to sell it because my wife had a stroke and we needed a one-story house. So what do you think the dreams about the house means that was replaced by the dream about the girlfriend?
Well, I want to talk about dreams about exes and cheating dreams. It's just too much here, because the house, let's go to the house, because that was your question. According to Jung, the godfather of dream interpretation, the house, whenever it appears in a dream, it's you, it's aspects of your ego. It's how you present yourself in the world. Like the exterior of the house is how you present yourself to the world. You go in the house. The kitchen is how you nurture yourself. The basement is your unconscious. The attic is your aspirations. Basically, the house is the mansion of your soul. Your dreaming mind wants you to go deep within and explore the untapped treasures there and learn about who you are at a soul level, who you truly are. Not all the bravado or what other people think you are. This is whenever houses appear in dream, it's a very powerful call to meet your soul, your true essence, and explore that house. Finding a room in a house that you didn't know was there before is a very common dream. I get so many messages about that. I was dreaming I was in a house and there was a room and I didn't know what was in it. And that's obviously about discovering another aspect of yourself that you didn't know you had. But look at the house. Is it tidy? Is it clean? Is it a lovely house? Is it a gothic house? Is it scary? Look at the condition of the house. I hope you have that dream again.
Yeah,
And
no, it's a beautiful house. It's a big house.
Exactly.
It's a version of my house, but it's always a little different. The rooms are always a little different. They're always in a different place. And it's joyful exploring them, you know?
The joy, feelings is another way that your dreams speak to you. So if the feeling is of joy, this is a very exciting, liberating, empowering dream to have, because as I say, now you know it's the mansion of your soul. What a beautiful dream to have. The scary thing is if you're going to a house and it's all run down and the paint's cracking and whatever.
No, not like that.
Exactly.
That's good. But cheating dreams, can I just go about that? Because
Yeah, because I've had that cheating dream, and I've woken up and it was so real, and I said, oh my God, 47 years of fidelity, and now I've ruined it.
No, cheating
and I
dreams.
look over and I see my wife laying down. I says, oh my God, it was a dream, you know, but it was that real.
Yes, it was real in your unconscious. It was
And
real.
why was I cheating on her, you know?
Everybody, even people in the most committed relationships, have cheating dreams. They are perfectly normal. They are very, very common because human beings are curious beings. And what your dreaming mind is doing, it's role playing for you in the dream world. So you don't really need to go there in your waking life. It's trying to help you. It's cathartic. It's also very healthy. And it's also a way for you to adventure, have a sense of fun. It's just for you. It's your dreaming mind keeping you happy. It's nothing to worry about.
So we're not sinning, huh?
No, yeah, exactly. It's cathartic, because basically in a dream you can role play, you can be or do anything. That's why the gaming community and the techie community so loves lucid dreaming, which is the ability to know you're dreaming when you're dreaming. Because when you go in the world of the dream, then you can literally be or do anything. And you don't, without the consequences that you would in your waking life. It's very, very healthy, to have cheating dreams. The only time it's not healthy is if when you're awake, you're thinking about cheating too, and every night, but don't worry, anyone listening who has cheating dreams, don't worry, it's totally normal. It's just you being a human being.
What about virtual reality? Now you're talking about the world we can get into dreams even more through VR. Do you see that as a problem if we go into different lifestyle and different things through the subconscious that way through VR at one point?
Well, I think it's exciting because in virtual reality, it's great because you can suspend disbelief and logic, and you can make creative connections that are impossible when you're awake and in conscious reality. And, being a dream researcher, I know of all the amazing scientific leaps and inventions. Even the invention of Google was a dream, started as a dream, because in waking life, it's too hard sometimes to be that visionary because our ego and our reason say that's impossible, but I find it very, very exciting, as long as you don't lose touch with reality. Of course, that is dangerous. That's why I don't recommend psychedelics or delving too deep into lucid dreaming, because there can be that blurring between what is real and what is not real.
Why do some people dream in black and white or color? Does it matter?
It doesn't particularly matter, because dreams, it's the most powerful thing is the symbolism. I mean, color is a much richer way to dream because, there's a lot of spiritual and mystical interpretations with color. If you dream in green, all the associations that you can then go away and think about with the color of green, and if you dream in black and white, it suggests that everything is cut and dried. Maybe you're a more logical person, but mainly for me, it's always the symbol and the story, rather than those details. I look at the symbolism and the story, and the story of the dream, the theme that's evolving. And what I try and show people also is that when you are in a dream, you don't stop being you. It's still you. That people do think that they're somehow different, but in your dream you continue, but it's you at a soul level. I do call dreams thoughts from the heart, because they are our dreams are things that we need to pay attention to in our lives, but we don't, because our ego and our head stops us noticing them. But when we fall asleep and the unconscious takes over, it draws our attention to things we have missed in our waking life, but we still need to reflect on and question, but which when we're awake, we don't. And that's why dreams are so powerful, because when you wake up and you've got this weird scenario in your head, what you do is question,
right?
You reflect. And I don't know anyone whose lives would not benefit from more deeper reflection and questioning. And that's what dreams want you to do. They want you to reflect on certain things. And if you have a very, very vivid dream, it's a very, very important message from your intuition or your heart wisdom.
Why is it so hard to remember them? Why? It's almost like sand, you're trying to remember and it's just kind of disintegrating right before your eyes. No, don't go away. I need to remember this.
It's so hard because it's from a different state of reality. It's another place. It's another part of you, but it speaks a different language. And you need to learn that language, because the more you learn that language, the more you learn to think in symbols and metaphors and what lies beneath. That when, for example, that things can have many meanings, not one. When you start thinking like a poet, then the dream recall becomes stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
It's because you're still thinking in a very sort of literal, head-led, logical way. And the unconscious is too subtle and gentle, invisible. It can't compete with the busyness of our material lives. But that's why during COVID, there's been so much interest in dreaming. I mean, I could not believe it, the amount of people that have got in touch, the TV, the media, because everybody was dreaming, because our lives sort of stalled and we all sort of became contemplative in a way. And then what happened is our dreaming mind seized the moment and thought, right, I'm going to remind you that you have a soul, you have a heart. Who are you? I mean, every single dream is asking you who you are, because that's the journey of our lives, is to know thyself. Most
Can
of
our
us
dreams
don't
come
know.
true? I mean, my wife had a stroke. She lost her speech. I constantly dream that she starts speaking again. And then my cousin disappeared 30 years ago, and I constantly have a dream that he comes back, knocking on my door. What is that all about?
Dreams can come true, but they tend to come true within 2 or 3 days. As I say, dreams are very, very current. There is a category of dreams, and I have written a book with a cognitive neuroscientist called Dr. Julia Mossbridge. She's from the States, actually. Fascinating lady who looks at the potential of precognition. And there is a very, very rare category of dreams which fall into the precognitive, and they're well recorded throughout history. For example, before 9/11, people were dreaming of planes going in the tower. But generally, it tends to be within a week. Okay. If a dream is going to play out. And you can tell the difference between a potentially precognitive dream and a symbolic dream, because precognitive dreams tend to be very, very clear. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Whereas the 99.9% of other dreams, symbolic and psychological, are like music videos. Right. They're like series of fragments. That's how you can tell. And they are the elusive ones. If it's a precognitive dreams, you typically wake up and you have to pinch yourself and think, that was so realistic. Everything about a precognitive dream feels so real and has beginning, middle, and end. And it's typically in a very realistic setting, not a surreal one.
Yeah. There's so many verses in the Bible that say, and God spoke to Mary in a dream, and God spoke to Joseph in a dream, and Jacob, etc. How do we know if our dreams are God speaking to us?
You can guess what my dissertation was at Cambridge about, because I studied dreams, of course. Yeah, I mean, there is going back to ancient times, it was thought that when you fall asleep and dream, you go to the afterlife, to the world of spirit. And there are many cultures that still believe that. There's one fascinating cat culture actually called the Para that believe every night when you fall asleep, you die and you're born again. So they tend to nap rather than sleep. And if they sleep longer than a few hours, they call themselves by a different name. It's a beautiful thought, but sleep is a mini death, that you're going to that. Again, this is possibly, as I say, we don't know. Maybe dreams we do open the door to the world of spirit. I believe they are, because I've had so many letters of people who've had afterlife dreams, or in near-death experience kind of dreams where people have gone somewhere and brought back invaluable wisdom that they couldn't have known. Very, very possible. I can't claim to know that. Right. Nobody can. It's certainly possible. But to interest people in dreams, because a lot of people get scared when you talk of them in that way, they think of the occult, or it's fearful, is to go for the psychological and symbolic interpretation. Because when people start thinking like that, then the door starts to open to spiritual growth. So, and we don't know why we're on this planet. We have no idea. Perhaps dreams are a portal.
So what's the strategy when you wake up from a dream so you can interpret it? Should you journal as quickly as possible? Should you write something down?
No. Don't blink. When you wake up, don't blink. Keep your eyes closed. Stay still for at least 90 seconds, because that is the moment when dreams are most likely to surface. Most of us make the mistake of moving, stretching, yawning, and any kind of physical movement jerks you straight back into conscious reality, back into the waking world. So if you can, when you wake up, try to keep very, very still, your eyes gently closed, and just let the images surface for about a minute or so. When they surface, then get up, of course, write them down. Do not try and make them make sense. So many people, when they dream journal, they want their dream to make sense. And I tell them the beauty of them, like a great work of art, like a great poem, is that it doesn't make sense. I mean, Kubla Khan, the most famous dream poem of all by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, it really doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. It has 1,000 different meanings, and that's what your dreams are. Don't force them to make sense. Choose a few symbols, say a bicycle and a squirrel or something like that, and then start brainstorming around those symbols. What can a bicycle teach me right now about my waking life? The right now, in the present, not my past, not my future, but today. What is this symbol going to teach me right now? And And you will be surprised how this ancient ability to almost be like a shaman, to see the mystic, to read beneath the surface does bubble through, because we've all got this in our DNA, this ability to be mystical. It's called the God gene. We have it, but we're so frightened of it, we shut it down. But dreams are a way to reactivate it. And when you start doing that, everything in your life becomes so much more interesting. You also realize that these amazing images that your dreams are showing up every night, you are so deep, you are so creative and so much more fascinating than you realized. You just start falling in love with yourself. And also, what greater way that your day's busy and then your night's even more exciting, because who knows what treasures are going to be unveiled. Plots of novels. Frankenstein was a dream. Mary Shelley dreamt the plot of Frankenstein.
Oh, wow.
James Cameron dreamt the plot of the Terminator. These were dreams that they
Holy
put.
cow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right, so the way we finish up the show is Dave has a caregiving question. That's why we call him Caregiver Dave. Go ahead, Dave, with your question.
And so, as I said, my wife had a stroke 25 years ago. She lost her speech, became paralyzed on one side. She reinvented ourselves. You know, we went through a grief period, but we hung in there and she became her old self again. Now she's amazing. She's like a one-arm wallpaper hanger. She inspires people. We travel all over the world, sharing our message to caregivers, how, 30% of them actually die before their loved ones do. And that everyone really needs to prepare. I've written 4 books. I've spoken all across the country and the world, and I've been on 50 TV shows. My question to you, and I had a membership website, caregiverdave.com, is has caregiving touched your life through your parents, your grandparents, your friends, relatives?
Caregiving, and you mean someone is very
Caring
ill?
for someone who is disabled or elderly, etc.
I guess not at the moment. I look back to my childhood and teenage when I worked in a hospice for a while, and I saw the level of care given to people at this crucial threshold when they were passing to the other side, if you believe in that. That touched me deeply. It actually probably informed me and made me want to go on a mission to understand the meaning of life, and if the possibility of life after death, what dreams are, and to realize there was something more mystical about our lives than just the material. So I was very privileged to see caregiving in action, to watch them when there was with people who were passing. So that would have really touched me. But personally, I guess, touch wood, so far I've been very blessed. I haven't actually been in a situation where there's been terrible poor health. But of course, in COVID, the NHS workers here over in the UK were outstanding. And we had this thing that every Thursday in the UK, we would stand outside our doors and just clap all the caregivers who were, with people when they were dying. So sorry, I'm not sure if that's helpful or not.
No, it's very helpful because you did have that caregiving experience for sure. Now, Teresa, what are the, right now, your current book where people can purchase your book, learn more about you and stuff? Where can we go?
Oh, the best place is my website, www.teresachung.com. And as far as books are concerned, everything about the mystical, I've kind of written about it. As I say, I'm a serial author. My passion is to get message out that there's more to this life than meets the eye. You are far more interesting and deep and creative than you will ever know. And to just normalize talk about intuition and dreaming, so to remove the fear and this dreadful woo-woo that surrounds it, and show that it's totally normal, and to have a sixth sense, to dream powerful, vivid dreams that can be life-changing. It's part of who human beings are. We are dreaming beings. And on a final note, I just believe one of the reasons I love dreams so much is that right now we need to focus on what unites us, not divides us. And whoever you are, whatever your age, stage, belief, you dream. Even if you don't recall them, you do.
Yes.
You do dream. If you're a human being, you dream. We have 5 or 6 dreams every single night. And they're trying to help and heal you. If you don't recall them, there are very simple things you can do to recall them. I hope lots of people listening to this because you've been thinking about dreaming, that might well trigger it. Because like anything in life, where you put your attention, that's where the reward comes. So you're thinking about dreaming in this interview. So the chances are your dream might pick up on that and really give you a powerful dream. So you wake up with great, exciting dreams on your mind.